Hello, IK here. Welcome to Content is Not Defined. Here is a declaration of variable content with the keyword let. After that, we have some logic, some conditions. If status equal loading, string loading, question mark means 10 would be content equal loading 3 dot in a tag h1 HTML tag. Else if it means column status equal succeeded string, then content would be equal post object, our array, method map of array, method of array, and parameter is post, arrow function, post is parameter, and in body of arrow function we have post excerpt component and props key and props post. It is else if, else, or finally, if nothing of above, if content not, if status not loading, if status not succeeded, then would be execute this. Content, variable content would be equal error and in variable error in curly brackets inside element HTML element div. Here is interesting that let content is declaration, declaring, and after that instantiation and conditional instantiation. Instantiation means assign value to variable content. Instantiation, and interesting here is declaration. Must be declaration. If we have not declaration of content, look at content. Content is not defined. Content is not defined, and it is error. We can go ahead. We must declare, but we don't need instantiate immediately. Here is instantiation after by some of condition. This is a form of ternary. It is first section of ternary, left of the question mark, right of the question mark is a second, and after columns is a third ternary. It is a name for that. But if we have else if, more if, again, after question mark, well, after column, we have again if status equals succeed, question mark said content will be a list of post. Of course, if status is succeed, all is okay, and in reducer we have in our post list there is a post, and can use map method, and we can use map method and extract post by post, in list of post, in component list post, in component post list. Here it is. And as we need declare variable at first, also we must declare component at first. All state in component we must declare at first. And because of that, we have initial rendering, to to declare all state for that component, initial state, and I like to see declare function also. Declare function. For example, here, post list. Here is a post list component. Equal arrow function. We declare dispatch equal use dispatch. We declare constant post equal use selector, and parameter is arrow function. Declare status equal use selector, and parameter is arrow function. Declare error equal use selector, and parameter is arrow function. Here it is. Use effect. We must declare use effect, and all that must be declared at first, defined. It would be in initial declaring, in initial rendering. And here it is. Also, let content, it would happen in initial rendering. And after that, conditional instantiation. And here is a return content. It is post list. And initial rendering is declaration. Every statement would be executed during initial rendering. And after that, if that component needed, we have use effect, and in this situation, we use effect, and we call and we dispatch tank to store, and the tank dispatch action type pending and action type fulfilled. It means three rendering. First rendering is initial rendering, when we have initial state declared exist in reducer, created in index from provider, and rendering of post list rendering, initial rendering, find that state, empty post, idle status, and null, nil, error equal nil. It is initial state. And after that, we have component, event component was mounted. That event activate a use effect activate arrow function, and in arrow function, because both side is one, status idle and right side is always one, ready to dispatch, we have dispatch tank function fetch post. And fetch post is a reason, is impact to rendering of post list. First rendering is because of status changes in loading, because pending type of action, fetch, post, dispatch, pending type of action, and that in that dispatch status equal loading, and it means object state post is changed in properties status from idle to loading, and it because of that we have re-rendered post list, and when asynchronous process finished and if finished okay, fetch post dispatch success type of action and fulfilled type of action, and it means post is full of post is not empty array but would be post from remote server with post inside like member, and status will be succeeded, and we have here if status is succeeded, content would be post exist post array would come in here, and map method map and parameter of map, and would be created list of post. We see here that post variable post is by this function use a selector, and this parameter is connected to post properties. This post properties, this is a state post object, and state is state of the store, Redux store. In that state is all other state, and our state here is only one state post, and that state post in our case here is object with the three properties. One property is post array with post, and second is status. Status, here it is, and third is error. This initial state is created in index. Here it is, in index here, store. Our store is created reducer. Here it is, store. Store created reducer, and we have only one reducer, post reducer, and that reducer have initial state, cannot be without state. Who created post reducer? That created initial state. Who created post reducer? Post slice. Post slice. Post slice created initial state. Let's get see post slice initial state. Post slice, here it is. Initial state. Initial state is curly brackets means object. Inside three properties of object. Post, it is type array, empty array. Status idle, error null. It is initial state. And after that, start index.js, after provider executed with store props, create rendering of app component, fundamental component in a reducer. And the app component have here is there is a two component, add post form, add post list. There is a two child. At first, always rendered child. Add post form rendered only one times, initial. And post list ordered three times, initial ordered, and because of tank function, what dispatch different state, two times we have two rendered, two more rendered. Of course, use effect, activate dispatch tank function. Add post. Add post is a place where we type new post and dispatch it to remote server. And after that, it in response, it coming back to our application and would be dispatched to store, to reducer, and concat with and push to existing copy of original state, and reducer create a new state with one post more. Because add post form dispatch new post to remote server and receive it back. Add post form never received post from remote server, complete post, and don't need use a selector because of that. Because add post form always dispatch tank in one direction, dispatch new post to server, but get back in a response data, get back same post would send to remote server, same post come back, and it is process asynchronous process request, add new post request, post request method post request, and response data. It is complete post with ID. ID would be created on the server, ID and title. And product of form, add post form is title and content. We dispatch to, and add post form must have dispatch, but must not have use a selector. Use a selector to connect to the reducer. No, because nothing received this from this path, from reducer. At post form, there is a local variable, local state at post form, only local. And that local send to remote server, title and content post, send to remote, and send to reducer, and send to reducer. It means that add post form is a source of new post, and the add post form never received, nothing received. Reducer received from what? From add post form, but from tank function. Add post form dispatch tank function and dispatch title and content, and it go to remote server and back to reducer. It means that add post form, when we push save post, send title and content, dispatch title and content outside of a single thread of JavaScript program, outside send to asynchron. Who is response for asynchron? Tang function. Dispatch tang function. Tang function create between other asynchron request, post. In that request, send title and content, what we type. Send to remote server. Remote server software push that for us it is unknown software, but we know that that software push new post in a server and respond to post request. If all is okay, respond same that post, only that one post with ID, because server give ID. And the ID, title, and content would be, from tang function, would be dispatched to store, to reducer. And how many times? First times immediately when would be dispatch activate. It is pending time. It is pending type of action. Pending status equal loading. And pending type of action means empty, means there is no payload because it is only pending. We send request, title and content is in it request. But if all is okay, we after request we have response. But before a response we have pending type. Immediately we have pending type of action, and that action would be dispatched. Tang function would be dispatched that action type pending. And if all is okay, tang dispatch fulfilled type of action. In that fulfilled type of action is payload. What? Title, content, and ID. It is what would be source of what would be add post form. Add post form is source, and that go to tang function dispatch it to reducer. And add post form is only responsive for accept in local variable, title and content, accept what we type. And after that, we push button, event on click, call event handler function, save post on clicked, and that I action dispatch tang function with parameter title and content. Tang function request, create a post request with title and content. And if all is okay, server accept it, add it to existing post array, and response in response data, and promise unwrap response data. In promise data, we have same that local variable title and content and ID, and push it in existing array post in our application. So we see up immediately. We see new post in post list, and of course must be rendering because of it. Post list must be rendering, but there is a child, and before it, for every post would be execute child. In this situation, coming new post is a reason for one rendering of that post. And the virtual document object model, there is an algorithm uh, who is better and better, and that algorithm want want to would see changes only in that new post, and would be changed only that new post would be incorporated in a new actual document object model. New actual document object model would not be refresh complete, but only virtual document object model would be resolved that changes incorporating in existing list only this new post. And because of that, we see new post list, new list of posts as in desktop application that changes is fast fast in desktop application, and it is that user experience never get back in traditional waiting for loading complete pages rendered on the server. We we get very useful technology now, Next.js. That Next.js is framework of React, where we the simplest way can decide it what we want rendered on the server, and what we don't want rendered on the server. Of course, a lot of content we want would be visible to search engines, and that content would be rendered on the server rendered component. And in other case, where we don't need it, we don't render it on the server. Okay, it's enough for this video. Thank you for watching this video.